Hello and welcome folks to another modern video. And I said modern, but what I really meant was pre-modern. Yes, everybody is hating on Wizards right now and saying, that's too many new products, too many supplementary stuff, MH2 is too expensive, and like it rotates the format and stuff like that. All of those issues get solved by just playing Premodern. Premodern is great right now, and I've been really getting into the format. I think it's a ton of fun, and I joined the Magic Online Premodern League. It's a free event that you can join if you want to, and basically what you do is you register a deck that is legal in Premodern, and you play 5 matches against other players. And then you get prizes. It's free to join, and the prizes are like 4 tickets for first place. So it's not significant prizes, but considering that it costs you zero money, and you actually get to play some matches of the best format in the current state of things. It's a pretty good deal. So I played it's a bi-weekly thing, so every 2 weeks it happens. And I played a kind of a test run of the previous season, and now I'm going to be playing in this one, and I chose to play as some Survival Madness. This is a deck that looked really fun. Also, by the way, all the decks in MTGO are just pennies. They're really cheap. So in paper, obviously, you look at 4 survivals and you're just like, oh, like how am I ever going to afford, $250 for each survival? Which, in parenthesis, you can actually play the ones from the Worlds decks or Challenger decks or whatever, like the gold border ones. Those are actually legal in Premodern. The idea is to try to make the format as accessible to people as possible. So you get to play some survivals, and it's nice because this is like basically the only format where survival is both legal and actually good. Like, sure, you can play survival in Vintage, but like it's not a very good deck over there. So this is one of the best cards in the format for sure. It's a fantastic engine, and in this case what we're doing is we're working that engine alongside the Madness payoff. So we have access to Arrow and Worm, we have access to Baskin Rootwalla, and of course we're talking about the whole Madness engine. So we have Wild Mongrel, Aquamoeba, and Waterfront Bouncer. We also have a Squee as a way to accrue card advantage. This Squee works really well with Frantic Search and Careful Study as well, since it's basically a card that you can discard for no cost whatsoever. And then we have a couple of tutor targets. So we have Waterfront Bouncer, Wonder, and Genesis. These 3 cards are just one-offs. We have a couple of more tutor targets in the cyber. I'll talk about those in a second. But we're trying to play sort of a tempo game where once you get your survival online, then you can hold on to counter magic in Daze and Mana Leak in order to keep your opponent from doing this stuff. And then, dig through your deck and enable your 4/4s and, Wild Mongrels, and slowly but surely beat them down in the air thanks to Wonder. So this deck looked like a lot of fun. In the previous season I played StifleNought, and it was also a lot of fun, because every deck is a lot of fun. Yeah, this is what we're going to be playing in this league. In the sideboard we have Tormod's Crypt. There are actually a decent amount of decks that use the graveyard. Most importantly are Oath, for example, which is kind of odd, but the whole concept of Oath in this format is that it's a control deck, so it loops a Phoenix that sacks, and you sacrifice it and it deals 2 damage to everything, and then it shuffles everything away with Gaia's Blessing. So if you can Tormod's Crypt, when either with the Blessing on the stack, or if you can Tormod's Crypt with the Phoenix in exile, then it actually becomes a little bit harder for them to win. We have 5 copies of blast effects of the blue variety, because red is a very strong deck in the format. It's the deck for Sly and Goblins, which are 2 of the top tier 1 decks in Premodern. 4 copies of Naturalize. Artifacts and enchantments are very powerful. I mean, we're talking about survival. I just mentioned Oath. There's also stuff like, Fire Action Dreadnought. So there's a bunch of very powerful artifacts and enchantments, and Naturalize obviously is very good there. Counterspell, a couple of copies. The idea here being when you need some actual answers, because we're limited to blue and green. And one of the nice things about Premodern is that you don't have stuff like Dismember that completely messes the color pie because every deck can play it, or stuff like that. So because of that, you are just stuck with choosing blue and green spells. And what the blue and green spells do is not remove creatures, so you need to have access to, you know, counter spells or stuff like that instead. So counter is nice against decks that are combo decks or where they have like big beefy things that you need to counter. And Gilded Drake and Octavio Orangutan are the two sort of tutor targets that we have access to. Orangutan for whenever we need to destroy artifacts, obviously, and Gilded Drake for stuff like Reanimator or Show and Tell has recently been unbanned in the format. So if anybody's trying to Show and Tell some Akromas into play, then you get to Gilded Drake the Akroma and go to town. So yeah, it's looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to playing this deck. If you're enjoying the content, I would like to see more Premodern content in this channel. Of course, I want to hear about it because I really want to make it. So if I can find enough interest, then I'm going to start to do things a little bit more often. And at least what I want to be doing is I'm going to be just recording the bi-weekly leagues matches and just upload them in any video. So if you're into that kind of stuff, let me know in the comments. And if you're interested in supporting the channel, you can do so through Patreon, you can do so by donations, or you can also book coaching sessions. All of that information you can find in the description of this video down below. Thank you for watching, I'll see you for the first round. Okay, here we go with round number 1. We don't know what we're playing against, so this hand could be a little bit sketchy. We don't have an engine. We do have Daze as interaction. We also have Waterfront Bouncer. I think I'm gonna keep it. Like, it's a little bit of a skeptical hand. Like, I'm not super stoked about it, but this hand can potentially do some stuff depending on which matchup we're paired against. So play Island first, obviously, so we can Daze if we need to. I'm probably gonna play Waterfront Bouncer on 2. What is this? Duress. Oh, there goes my Daze. There goes my Daze. And let's see what we draw. Aquamoeba. Well, I'm definitely going to play Aquamoeba now that we drew that, because it allows me to be a little bit more aggressive. I mean, a lot more aggressive, which is pretty neat here. Oh, that sucks. Okay, so they're just going to Therapy Arrogant Worm, which is bad for me because it really slows down my clock. Look at that Wasted Madness trigger. What a waste. We have some pretty sicko top decks here, though. Like, if we draw Survival, I'm pretty sure we kind of just win. Oops, that was a misclick. The new... Yeah, I'm used to have a beginning of combat stuff. Like, this is the first match that I'm playing since I reinstalled the client. So I think that things like that are kind of bound to happen. I really hope that I don't, you know, lose this game with my opponent being at 1 life. Recurrent Nightmare. I think I'll leak that. It allows me to use my mana, and this is an engine for my opponent, which is going to be kind of annoying eventually. Interesting. So I can search here. Yeah, I think I'm going to. If I find... Ugh, that's so bad. Okay, I guess we're doing... Oh, god damn it, I misclicked again. That's 2. 2 out of 2 misclicks. Brutal. That's rough. Walla Roots, it's not particularly annoying. I don't think I want to study here. I'm just gonna attack. Yeah, okay, so even though I put a stop at the beginning of combat, I guess this new client still makes you click again or something? Because I did the same misclick twice, which means that, you know, obviously my muscle memory is not doing what it's supposed to do. That Pernicious is pretty bad for me. Okay, so I can still get out of this. I need to find one of my good cards here. That's most definitely not some of those. Yeah, so like every careful study, frantic search that whiffs is basically some card disadvantage that I am incurring. So it's kind of rough. Jeez, I'm gonna hold on to this lands though in case I draw another careful study slash frantic search. Rootwalla. I think I'm holding on to that one as well. this means I guess I don't know yet if I want to play an island or I want to play a forest, because this is a survival version, so every single basic forest basically is every single green source in play means that I have access to one more card that I'm tutoring for. Okay, so that's treetop. If I draw another green source, I'm gonna play out the forest. But I'm kind of one survival away from just winning here. That's kind of nice. Alright, so here's a 4/4. Here's a 4/4 that if you kill is gonna give me card advantage. It's not bad. Therapy. Therapy away, my friend. I'm also fairly ahead in this race. Like if I start beating down with Genesis, opponent can't just chill. Of course, my opponent has cards that they can top deck, and then it gets into a problem, like Obstinate Balo. I guess Obstinate Balo just trades, and then I start looping Arrogant Worm, so that's not great for my opponent. But Spiritmonger would be an issue though. Names Arrogant Worm again. Okay, careful study. Ding ding ding. So now we're just gonna bin both of these. I'm just gonna play out Survival. And we're just gonna swing for 4. And I still don't know what I want to do with this Survival, so I'm just gonna chill. Naturalize main deck. Okay. So this means I get to Madness 1 Rootwalla into play. And I get to search for another Rootwalla. I guess I'd rather have Wonder? Would I rather have Wonder, or would I rather have a Worm? Or another Rootwalla? Yeah, I guess I'd rather have Wonder. So now my dudes fly, and we get another Worm, I think, just because it's a big one. Yeah, so and that's what I was saying, right? Like we were just basically one survival away from just turning this game around immediately, which is very nice. So it looked like we were a little bit behind, but that's just not the full story. So here opponent gets to like swing with treetop and sack it to Therapy. Diabolic Intent. Okay. Bone Shredder. Okay. So Bone Shredder here probably deals with the big one. Just fine. What? Why are everything's so auto yielded and I can't stop it? This is going to destroy me. No, I don't want to yield through this turn. No, yeah, everything's just a mess. I'm kind of in big trouble here. Is it because of the pass handle response? I think it may be because of my auto things. So turn off auto yields. Yeah, I think I have some issues there. So I think we're gonna get back Aquamiva here, or I can just get back the Worm. So yes, Mongrel is a great draw. So okay, so that is why, because what used to be okay for me is now pass until response. So that makes sense. So I'll need to figure this out later. Braids. Okay. I don't think this is gonna work out for my opponent, because I just sack and get back this every turn. I don't think that's very good for them. So I guess... Oh, this has to choose the target beforehand. Okay, whatever. So let's get back... I guess I'm not gonna get back anything this turn. So sack Rootwalla. Say no. Nice. So I guess we're just gonna put some 4/4s into play. Discard that. Madness that. And I'm gonna make it black. Yeah, I definitely have to make sure that I set up my stops properly. Baloth. Okay. Nether Shadow? Okay. That's cute. That's a combo with Braids, but... do I want to get back Rootwalla? I think so. I think so, yes, because it basically just beats the braids. And if I find a land here, alright, sure, play that out. Swing for 6, 7? Yeah, I guess 7. Because the opponent has no cards in hand, so they can't have a removal spell for it. So, down to 4, which means my opponent's going to need to sack Baloth next turn. We have blocker for Shadow, we have blocker for Braids if we need to. We can throw a Baloth in the garbage. They don't even sack the Shadow. But we just have super lethal next turn. Cabal Therapy. My opponent doesn't know what my hand is yet. I wonder if they're gonna name Arrogant Worm again. Haha, got him. So if they do something like play Spiritmonger or whatever, they just lose Deed. What does Deed do? Okay. That is kind of annoying, actually. So now we take 6. Upkeep, we sack an island. Upkeep, we sack an island. We force... Just gonna get back Rootwalla and just cast it. Oh, shit. I forgot to float mana. Well, punished. That was a pretty massive mistake. So if I attack, they're forced to sack Baloth, and then they don't have lethal anymore. So this is fine. It's wild the amount of misclicks that we had this game, but we may be just fine. That's much more misclicks that I'm comfortable with, though. I really messed this game up. So I guess they will need to draw exactly another Ravenous Baloth? Ravenous, however you call that. Yeah, and if they do that, then they play that, they swing for 2, I attack for 4, they have to sack it again. Like, it doesn't really get them anywhere. Well, this looks hella weird. This is how you can tell that this is the first time that I fired off the client. Everything got reset. Okay, so potential cards that are interesting are these right here. I don't think I care about anything else. This can get rid of Recurrent Nightmare. Not sure I care about that, though. Genesis was kind of an all-star, that game. Gila Drake can steal Spiritmonger or something big like that. I'm not sure that it's great, though. I mean, I don't have any other answers to a card like that, so... Besides answering them on the stack. And then Recurrent Nightmare can become a problem. So, Frantic Search, cut 1. And... Survival is sick. Cut a Daze on the draw. Maybe actually just cut 2 Dazes on the draw. And on the play I can bring back the Dazes and cut something else. This looks good though. Okay, what is this? This hand looks pretty strong. I'm gonna take a bunch of damage, but unless my opponent has an aggro hand, which is possible for the rock, right? But unless they have an aggro hand, that's nice. Okay, so Scar Rootwalla, discard City, cast. Maybe discarding City is wrong there. Wall of Roots. Okay. Here's an island. I'm just gonna use my mana here. We trade 1 for 1. I'm gonna chill on this survival until I can get at least 1 activation. They're just interesting. Well, I'll pump and lock. Like, I'm taking this trade every day. I don't think that's a good attack by my opponent. Unless they're like crazy flooded. Ha, that's nice. Surprise 4/4. So we're just gonna pass the turn here, and the way that Madness works with Frantic Search is exactly the way that we would want it to. So if they play something worth countering, I can just counter it, and if they don't, I can end step Frantic Search. Oof, that's pretty good. Oh baby. There's even an argument for holding on to this Rootwalla just so I can get the survival engine started. But like, I just don't need survival right now. Survival would be nice just to find a wonder, honestly. Well, that's a way to get the survival engine started. Swing. If they naturalize here, I think I just let it go. I mostly just want to play it out because my opponent could have... I'm just gonna look for... I think we look for Wonder here. But my opponent could have what's the Cabal Therapy. If they have therapy and they name survival, then I get super wrecked. I got no value from either survival. Pernicious Deed. It's fine. I mean, it's good for them because they can just chill on it, right? That's the strength of Deed right here. Do I want to get 2 activations off of this survival? Because my opponent's going to crack for 5. Yeah, I think this is a good time to do this. So we're just going to activate survival, discard Wonder, go find Genesis. Yeah. And now we're just going to swing. And now if my opponent taps out to... If they tap out to blow up my board, that's fine, because then next turn I get to discard Genesis on end step, and then hold up counterspell, do all the good stuff. Looks like they're just gonna crack, which makes a lot of sense. And they really want to get rid of the 4/4 here, so discard Genesis, and I think I'm just gonna get Mongrel here. Getting Squeeze is interesting as well, but like I'm just gonna get Mongrel. Mongrel allows me to just upkeep Genesis, get back Rootwalla, and then I'm right back on the board. 1, 2, 3. Yes. There's the Squee. So if they have Withered Wretch, yeah, that one's a problem. So now they just eat. Yeah. Mana. That's kind of sick. Oh, I misclicked. I wanted to play the Rootwalla on end step. My bad. I mean, we are kind of winning this race pretty handily, so... But I mean, I would have been attacking with a Rootwalla right now that I can pump. So now, if my opponent wants, my dudes don't fly anymore. And they can keep eating my graveyard. Which they should, because I may be playing, and they don't know that I'm not playing Circular Logic. We do have days, we have Counterspell. Indeed. I'm gonna counter that. I mean, this is a 2-turn clock as is, so... Shout out to the City of Brass, which did some work for us. Yeah. They keep excelling on stuff, but it doesn't really achieve anything anymore at this point, right? Oh, please don't have the Spirit Monger. Braids. Sure. Okay. Just swing with everything. Now they have to chomp with one or both things. Braids has not looked impressive, to say the least. Which is sad, because this card is sweet. Not as sweet as this one. I love this card so much. So they could have Vendetta, but I can turn this into black, so that's fine. They could have Smother, but I can Daze. So I think I'm just gonna order like this, and I'm just going to activate twice. So I can get the Squeeze back anyway. So now we trade. Is it better to Daze? If my opponent's one of their last 2 cards in hand, one of them is Smother, I get super punished. I think I'm just gonna let it go here. And if my opponent, yeah, if they go to eat the Squee, now I can discard the Daze. I knew that they could not leave value on the table. So the right thing there was for my opponent to just let it go. And then basically they are forcing me to just take the trade. Because otherwise, like, I'm playing around Smother specifically. And the second that they tap the second mana, that's when they are, like, Smother's out of the question. And it feels like my opponent may have overdone it a little bit with the Graveyard Hate. I don't think Tormod Script is great. I do like Withered Wretch a lot in this matchup. But I don't think the Tormod Script is where you want to be. GG's opponent. And this is the cool thing about this deck. This is the cool thing about this deck and why I like it. Because, like, we kind of are presenting multiple angles of attack. And, like, this card is just messed up, right? Like, it's such a good engine card in a deck like this. So, yeah, that was fun. That was pretty good. Okay, here we are for round number 2. Yeah, we're keeping this. We get to go turn 1, City into Careful Study. Discard Rootwalla Squee. It's pretty hot. Our best draw is probably Basic Island. Playing against the Basic Island. I'm gonna lean on Yavimaya Coast because this gives us the option to like not take any more damage if we don't need to. Okay, so do we want to? I guess I just want to discard these two. Yeah, still in the same spot. It's pretty sweet how Squee turns your card disadvantage spells into actual card advantage. Like it's pretty insane. Like if you do have access to like 2 Squeeze, you're just basically casting 1 mana divinations, which is pretty ridiculous. We're gonna be left. So my opponent playing Portent suggests that they're playing some sort of combo deck. They're missing land drops, so obviously we're gonna return Squee. If they're playing something like StifleNought, I really want to hold Mana Leak. But my opponent could also have access to. They could also have access to to something like Daze anyway. So this Mana Leak is not necessarily likely to resolve. So I have the option of resolving Survival or resolving Careful Study. Careful Study lets me look for land plus Daze, which seems pretty unlikely. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna resolve Survival here. And kind of take it from there. And we can get knotted here for sure, which is going to be really bad for us. If my opponent's indeed playing StifleNought. We also have no islands, so can't get dazed. But now we're going to be able to basically pass the turn, and we start flooding the board with Rootwallas. Land. Excellent, excellent. Everything's going according to plan. So now on end step, we're just gonna start discarding some Squeeze and getting some Rootwallas into play, while holding up Mana Leak. We could also just Frantic Search. I guess Frantic Searching is just free, so I might as well Impulse. Okay, I'll let that resolve. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna. So the issue if I Frantic Search is that my opponent can just counter the Frantic Gush on my end step. That's interesting. I mean, I could have leaked there, but like, what's the point, right? My opponent's gonna go to discard anyway. Oh, maybe there was a point to Gush in there. Never mind. Opponent's got some Lotus Petal action going on. I think I'm gonna Frantic Search. If my opponent wants to throw a counter spell at this, that's fine. It also allows me to just like discard the Wonder. Okay, that's something. Actually, let's just discard this too. Untap, untap, untap. Survival, discard the Wonder. We're gonna get Rootwalla. Discard Rootwalla. Cast it. Now we're just putting some pressure on the board. I really want to find Opt. Yeah, so at this point, I'm pretty sure my opponent's on StifleNought. So at this point, what I really want to find is a basic island, I guess. We do have access to our Mana Leak. So this is going to find another Rootwalla. And then this one is going to find the waterfront bouncer. And then I guess I want to cast bouncer next turn, I think. Untap. Squee number 1. Yes, Squee number 2. Still no basic island, which is a little bit awkward. But I think I want to attempt to resolve the bouncer now. Blue and 1. Okay. My opponent could have their own Dazes, which would be a problem. Well, this is good. Discard Squee. Get some more Rootwalla action going on here. I'm taking like infinite damage from from my City of Brasses and my Yavimaya Coast. Just infinite damage down to 13. I guess we're gonna get a worm here. Really start putting on the pressure. Missing land drops is pretty rough, so I think I'm just gonna go for study here. Excellent. That's sweet. So discard some Squeeze. There we go. Now my dudes fly. I think I swing with everybody. Yeah. And there's an argument there for not swinging with the bouncer, because swinging with bouncer means that not swinging with it will mean that I don't have to bounce. Like I'm gonna have 2 instances to attempt to bounce their dude. But by swinging here, next turn I can pump 2 Rudwalas and I actually have lethal. Did I have lethal anyway? End step gush again. Okay. I guess the reason is like I don't quite get the end step gushes actually. So here we're gonna be running into days, but that's fine because that keeps my opponent off balance 1 more turn. And I'm still gonna get a survival activation, so end step, survival, activate worm. This is like such an engine. It's such an engine. I think this is just the best card in the format. We could daze here. If opponent dazes, we effectively counter a Lotus Petal. We effectively like destroy a Lotus Petal. Foil the worm. If I daze, we can next turn swing, pump. That's 6, 7, 8, 9. So I can go for lethal next turn if I wanted to. My opponent can stifle one of my Rudwalas. The thing is, I don't really have to do anything. So I think I'm just gonna daze the foil here just to basically destroy a Lotus Petal. Discard an island, another card, rather than pay this mana cost. That's a pretty serious cost for. But yeah, so basically they're gonna counter my worm. That's fine. And now I can bring my opponent to 1, but there's no real reason to do that, so probably not going to. Let's get another worm. Untap. They draw from Portent. We get back some squeeze. We get to squeeze some value here. Do I want to careful study is the question. I think I do. Might as well. I think this time I'm gonna hold on to the bouncer. We can pump once if we want to, which allows me to present lethal next turn. Yeah. Alright, sweet. So it is mono blue StifleNought, so naturalizes obviously come in. Hooktabi Orangutan seems pretty solid too, nice. Gilded Drake seems also reasonable. Yeah, this card seem alright. Oh, this deck is so sweet. This deck is so sick. Okay, so what do we not want? This is, so, between the previous match and this one, I played in a Premodern event where I played this exact 75. Didn't go too well, but I ended up going 2-3. Started 2-1, running pretty hot, and then I lost 2 wins and ins, 2 win and ins back to back. So the question here is, if I cut the dazes and the leaks, if I'm on the draw, I think I want to cut at least 2 dazes. But I realized, so where I was going with that story is that the sideboarding was the hardest part of the deck, I think. So I don't think we're going to need Genesis. Worm seems good. Wonder seems excellent to kind of fly over my opponent's Dreadnoughts. Also, it allows me to like Gilded Drake, steal my opponent's Dreadnought, give them a 3/3, and then I just my 12/12 flies, so I can just block the Gilded Drake. But yeah, sideboarding was kind of a nightmare, if I'm being honest. It was really, really tricky. So Naturalize is better because it allows me, it like gives me more flexibility. So I think I'm just going to side out all of my counter magic and then just bring in actual interaction. Could potentially cut a land on the draw. I don't think I want to be doing that. I was really impressed by Frantic Search. This is the card that really surprised me. Like Frantic Search and then just cast Arrow on the Worm happened so many times. I don't think Aquamiva and Wild Mongrel are key as well as survival, because it allows me to play it allows me to play at instant speed. I could cut a squee. Just bring in Mana Leak. Call it a day. What do we got here? We got no answers to Dreadnought. We got the combo, but if my opponent has their combo, this combo is not going to be too impressive. I think I'm going to ship this. I guess I keep this hand. And it's really weird how this deck is constructed, in that it's really weird how it's constructed in terms of you want to have more island than basic forests because you really need to have access to the first island. But once you have the first island, then oh, so they just have turn 1 Dreadnought. Yeah, that's gonna be kind of hard to beat. But once you have the first island, basically you want mostly green sources, because green sources allow for your survival engine to keep going. So I effectively need to find... I need to draw exactly... I need to find exactly Naturalize, because this is just a 2-turn club by itself, so I'm not going to have time to get anything else going, really. Turn 1 Dreadnought is impressive. So if I find Naturalize and my opponent doesn't have the counter, obviously we play on. I can buy one more turn thanks to Mongrel. So play Mongrel, and now I can grow this on my opponent's turn, Madness, and go down to 1. So they attack, activate. Trample is a hell of a keyword when it's on a 12-12. So we're gonna make it blue for value. 3, 4, 5. I can discard a card to essentially gain a life. Do I want to do that? I don't think I do. So trample damage gives a time. We take 7 out of 1, and we have to draw exactly Naturalize. Okay. All right. Well, on the play, obviously the aces are gonna make a comeback here, and that means that Mana Leak's gonna go. I think we still keep the Naturalizes. I think Squee. 1 Squeak we can cut. 1 Aquamoeba. Orangutan. Let's just cut a Worm. All right. We finally get to be on the play. This hand looks reasonable. Would love to have an island, but I guess they'll do. If I find an island of the Careful Study, then we're just gonna be golden, because I can just Naturalize with Daze backup. Ooh, 61 card special. Classic strat. Put him most to 6. Basic island. I summon the... Damn it. Discard the Daze. That's the turn. Gotta find Basic Island. Can we find Basic Island? Okay, Portent means likely no Dreadnought. So I'm just gonna discard Survival. I'm just gonna cast Survival next turn. We run into Daze, which would suck, but it is okay. So they draw off Portent. Yes. Okay. Here's Survival. No Daze. And this deck can counter the Survival activation, but it can't actually counter... It can actually answer a Survival once it's in play, unless it's playing like Boomerang or something like that. Okay, so they got the combo. Stifle. Really want to draw a land. It's probably my best draw, actually. Land! Perfect! The best land to draw to. So they actually have Counterspell, so I think I'm going to Naturalize right now. And then they can, like, save the Dreadnought with... What's his name? Opt. Yeah, okay. So they can have foil, or they can have something like that, but if they do, we just Daze it. And I think that's going to put us in a good spot. They could have double Daze. Gush. So I just Daze this. Naturalize. Boom. Yeah, okay, now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. We know opponent has 2 islands, and something else. And on end steps, the survival engine is gonna start to slowly get us there. So root walla first. Get back squee. All right. We're humming. We're humming. We are humming. Powder keg. Do I care about that? I mean, if I care about it, I can just orangutan it. The thing is, I think I can just force my opponent to blow it up on 1. So discard root walla. Madness. Find another root walla. Discard root walla. Madness. Gonna, I guess, find another root walla. Yep. Forest is probably our best run out at this point. But now the clocking shall begin. Maybe I should have gotten. I think I should have gotten Arrogant Worm instead of root walla there. I think I messed up. Root walla. And I'm trying to, like, this is probably the last root walla that I'm gonna put into play, because this is, I think, enough pressure. Gonna get a worm, and then we're just gonna discard squee. I'm gonna get another root walla on tap. Get back squee. Dace number 2. Okay. So now the thing is that we're gonna be able to discard the worm on my opponent's end step. Which is pretty nice. I wonder if my opponent's gonna bring that up to 2. No, they keep it on 1. I knew it. I knew that I could just force them to keep it on 1. So what we're gonna do now, I mean, I'm taking a lot of damage from these Yavimaya coasts though. At least my opponent can't really effectively pressure my life total. So if they daze here, counterspell. Okay, that's fine. That actually seems like a good exchange for me. Just gonna get another worm. Ugh. I guess we can just discard the worm to hand size here if we want to. Okay, so they just pop the keg. So I'm just gonna discard root walla then. So we're gonna go down to 8, and then down to 6 on my next turn. But if this resolves, then we're very easily gonna win the race. Another counterspell. Okay, get the last worm. Ding! That's probably my best draw in the deck, funnily enough. My kingdom for a basic forest. I guess maybe I should just be doing that main phase to play around counterspell. Oh, I hope my opponent hard cast a foil here. This is my last worm. Okay, so that resolves, which probably means that's GG. Discard Wonder, so my dudes fly now. Just gonna get a bouncer. Nice. Play bouncer, and at this point seems really hard for my opponent to get out of this. So I think we got him under the soft lock. We got bouncer, double daze, orangutan, gilded drake. Yeah, and I've seen some versions of this deck running wastelands and stuff, and I was actually talking to I can't remember their username, but we met at the event that I played yesterday, and he was playing wastelands. So we were talking about like the upsides and downsides, and we saw like if any of these lands had been a wasteland, right, I would just not been able to win this game. Sweet, awesome, 2-0. Okay, round number 3. This hand seems a little bit weak, just slow. This is better. I'm gonna keep this, but we need to find the green source. I guess any land will do. Bouncer, okay. So bouncer allows me to deploy something on 2 and sort of set up for turn 3. So it just allows me to do something, which is nice. And if my opponent has a daze, they're gonna have to use it here, or it just resolves. Okay. So far, blue island. So we could be facing stasis. Could be facing some sort of mono blue deck. Accumulated knowledge seems... Oh, blue-black. Okay. Maybe a control deck? Vendetta. That resolves. Green source, come to me. Another days. Okay. I mean, the second we find the green source, we're gonna be in good shape. That would have been a great turn to find the green source, because then it allows me to like do something while holding up days, which would have been pretty nice. Double days at that. Wonder what we're up against. Maybe we're up against like blue-black StifleNought. I think I'm gonna Mongrel here. Mongrel actually beats Vendetta, which is really nice. You just turn your creature into black and you're just good to go. Doesn't beat Smother though. Intuition. Alright. We could double daze this, but let's see what we're up against. Triple AK. Wow. 2 mana, draw 4. This format is so sick. You get to draw 4, my friend. It's kind of sweet. I'm assuming that they drew it later, right? Because otherwise, like, it's so good for them to... I'm just gonna untap because I want to get some card advantage from this frantic search. I am gonna search right now, though. Okay, so this is just Psychatog, I guess. Because they have Wonder. Manually. I think I'm just gonna double daze here. Like, I don't really think that it's getting too much better. So take 1. Okay. A little bit unfortunate there, but it's fine. Too bad that we had to, you know, bounce our own lands in order to daze there, but if they drop a Psychatog, that's gonna be a problem because it flies. Yep. That's rough. That is pretty rough. So Squeak comes back here. I don't think I can attack. But I don't think my opponent's got lethal, so I don't think they have attacks. So Psychatog is very good at finishing the game in a single swing, but it's not very good at doing it like at cheap shotting. So like my opponent basically is not gonna attack, or at least should not attack until they actually have lethal. Gush. Sure. It's a pretty good Gush deck. This is the beauty of this format, like the fact that you get to play Psychatog and like Wild Mongrels and Root Wallas and not be embarrassed, right? Imagine like playing Accumulated Knowledge in like Legacy, right? It's just it's just so silly to think about, you know, intuition for Accumulated Knowledge. It's just so silly to think about, you know, that this used to be actual like legitimate card advantage engines. It's a very interesting question as to whether we bring in Tormod script in a matchup like this. My gut tells me that I should not. Okay, so they're pumping a little bit, which is interesting. Okay. Leaving Vendetta in the graveyard. Exiling Wonder? Oh, do they just have lethal here? 7 plus 7, that's 14. Yep, they have exactly lethal actually. So they're just going for it. Okay. It's weird then that they did play out the Psychatog, right? Gush. I mean, I guess I can mana leak this for what's worth. I don't think that it really does anything because they just have lethal, but okay, so counterspells seem good. Drake seems decent. That's really about it. I think I like Genesis. I like my cards that do things. So I think on the play I do want Daze. Worm seems great. Squeeze seems great. Genesis, Wonder. What's my worst card? Survival is my best one. Bouncer seems a little bit mediocre. Potentially good, but just a little bit not super powerful. Got 1 mana like since I'm bringing in counters. Maybe cut a Daze because the game's gonna go very long. Maybe I'm cutting the Bouncer. Okay, so now we get to be on the play. We got no engine here, so I'm just gonna ship that. This is better. Keep it bottom of Nile. I think I'm gonna careful study on turn 1 anyway, even though I don't have Squee or Rootwalla. But just so I get to dig a little bit deeper. Yeah. So just gonna do this. I think I'm gonna discard Mongrel. Now that I drew Survival, this is my better engine card. And I can protect the Survival with Daze in case my opponent has Force Spike or something. Okay. And I'm definitely slapping the Survival here. Monger allows me to Worm next turn, but it doesn't really allow me to really pull ahead if my opponent just plays a removal spell on it. So Survival allows me to play the long game much better. All I need to find now is green sources. If I can find green sources, I can start to, you know, do squeeze things. Foil. Okay. Acceptable. Get a nice little 3 for 1, including a Cunning Wish. We need a top deck. So if I find the land next turn, we're gonna be cooking. Really wish I had found one right there. This Daze is gonna become much worse very quickly. This is one of the charms of the format. It's just like sometimes you have like a 2-color deck and it just gets, because the mana is not super great. Like it's kind of charming in my opinion. Okay, so now they could have Smother, but they can't really have, like Vendetta doesn't really do anything. Another Survival is interesting. I think I'm willing to trade with my opponent's removal. With my opponent's counter magic, I think. So I'm just gonna drop it and see what they do. They would just counterspell. There's an argument for just like passing the turn and hoping my opponent casts Factor Fiction. I'm gonna discard that one. Make it black. This deck is pretty mana hungry. Like I'm very surprised whenever I see like 21 land versions of this deck. Like I always feel like I really need to hit my land drops. Sucks. Just can't hit a land drop. The third land drop in particular is extremely important, because the third land drop is the one that allows you to like Arrogant Worm or cast Frantic Surge to dig deeper. So I feel like every land drop past the third is only really good once you got Survival going. Alright, opponent fetches. Basic Island. Good old fetch to thin, I guess. So here I can sort of block just as a way to eat cards from my opponent's graveyard to make the Psychatog worse, which I think I'm interested in doing. They could have Factor Fiction, which would be an absolute disaster, but even Gush would be pretty bad for me. But if they attack, I'm just gonna block, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm nowhere close to lethal. Yeah, I think we're blocking. We're gonna do a little bit of, okay, discard this. I mean, it's free to discard the Genesis. I mean, I guess it's not necessarily free, because like it makes my okay, I mean, now that they've exiled everything, I mean, I need to discard 2 cards, so I think I don't want to do that, so I'll just let it go. I mean, they should have waited for me to discard something before doing anything. Ugh. I do think I serve, and I do think that I just in combat discard Rootwalla. Make it black. I really hope they hardcast a Gush. Would really like it if they just hardcast a Gush. Intuition. I assume it's gonna be for like a bunch of FOFs or for maybe AK. There's no way they don't play around Daze here though. No. So now AK is a draw 3. It's effectively ancestral. Yep. Very nicely playing around Daze. Can block on Pump. Unclear how good that actually is. Maybe I was supposed to take it last turn. I was supposed to just go aggro. If I take, yeah, just gonna block. Block on Pump. Opponent could like Vendetta in response, like a bunch of things they could do here, but feeling pretty far behind for obvious reasons. Feeling pretty far behind for obvious reasons. Huh. Discarding a card instead of just casting the AK is interesting. Do they also have Gush or something? Land. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not quite enough. Not quite enough. But I don't think my opponent has enough to kill me either, so just gonna swing for 2 and wait. I just 8 turns. 15 cards deep, and we have not yet been able to find land number 3. It's something that happens sometimes. Something that happens sometimes. Okay, so that was their draw for turn. Because otherwise they would have hit their land drop last turn. No blocks, baby. Am I dead? I'm also like 1 away from killing them, which is pretty brutal. Okay. And depending on what their cards in hand are, we may be facing lethal. 6, 7, 8. Okay, so that's it. Take 4. I think we wanna actually be aggressive here. Here we go. Here's my worm. See, if they counterspell, they don't pump Psychatog. And now we have lethal for next turn. Down to 5, and we should have lethal. 4th days. It's big. That's really big. Really, really big. That was a big days. Okay, now we're dead. Yeah, so actual amount of cards does matter here. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I guess it's not actually lethal. And they take the 3 lands, which is understandable. So this is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so that's actually lethal. I'm just dead. Don't have any more cards. I can't even bounce a land today. So yeah, they actually have lethal here. All right, GG's. I feel like we had a pretty good shot if we had found our 3rd land up a little bit sooner, but okay. See you next round. All right, so we're on the draw. This hand needs to hit some land drops pretty desperately. We got Survival, Mongrel, and Search though. Yeah, I'm gonna ship this. This is likely better. And I'm gonna bottom the City of Brass. Let's see what's up. Let's see what's up. Basic Forest. Alright, that's some way to get value from our study, which is nice. It's pretty good. So let's discard the Wonder Rootwalla. That was pretty sweet. Alright, baby, let's go. So I'm probably gonna Survival next turn, I think. Forest. Survival. Okay. Alright. Here's my Survival. Swing for 1. So starting next turn, I guess I also get to Frantic Search, which is kind of nice. We're gonna get to do some stuff though. Okay, so we got more mana than my opponent. That definitely puts us in a good spot. So let's serve. And I think we just pass it back. Okay, so they discard Squee. Okay, so we are playing the mirror. And this is Cyberpunker, which is one of the mods in the Discord, so does make sense that we're playing against the mirror. He gets Mongrel, which is interesting. Okay. So we have the mana advantage. Let's see what he does. Let's see if he just plays out the Mongrel, or if he just goes wide with Rootwallas. Okay, so he's going for the Mongrel, so I think I'm just gonna Frantic Search. Okay, that's not very good, but it's fine. That's gonna resolve, and now I'm going to Survival, discard Mongrel, and get Squee, discard Squee, I'll just get another Squee, and then we're gonna start going off. That's a really good draw, because this basically gives me extra green mana. So let's go 1 green, 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 We frantic search. We're gonna draw 2. Okay. Discard. Discard. Untap all 3 of my green lands. Survival. For squee. And I guess I'm just gonna pass the turn. I could attack if I wanted to. It's probably fine, since my dudes fly. But we're gonna be... I think we're gonna be ahead here. We do have more raw resources than my opponent does. So this is gonna be 3, 4, 5, plus 8. That's 13, that's not enough. Discards Genesis, which makes sense. Discards Squee to Survival. Rootwalla. I mean, we could daze this Rootwalla. Probably okay to do. Of note that when I daze, my dudes don't fly anymore. So that's something to keep an eye for. Okay, so he's just, I guess he's just going for a bunch of damage here. Which is kind of fine, but then I can swing back. So discard Squee. And now what I want to do is I want to basically get a bunch of Rootwallas. And then with the last one, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Arrogant Worm. So this is another Rootwalla. Green, survival, discard Rootwalla. Cast. I guess I want to get another Mongrel here. Because then I can start to get the Mongrel advantage. And that seems good. Because I have more squeeze and more mana. Another survival doesn't really do anything for me. So we're just gonna go with this. Swing. We do have access to daze. And of note that my opponent does not have... they don't have an island, so they can't fly over my... I mean, I do have an island, though, so... It's actually my first time playing the mirror, which is interesting to say the least. Yeah, in Maya Coast. Okay. So now it's getting interesting, because we're getting a little bit closer on mana. Frantic Search. If I Mana Leak, what does that do? It's probably good to Mana Leak. And now I can force my opponent to discard a bunch of things. Interesting attack. Okay, let's do this. So opponent has 6 cards in hand. So they're going to have to discard a bunch of actual cards in order to save this Mongrel. I think they're going to have to discard everything, if I'm not mistaken. So that happens. That's 3. We trade. I think I don't want to just trade. I mean, I'm obviously going to discard all 3 of these squeeze. My Mongrel's going to be black too. Yeah. Okay. Some classic Mongrel fights. But I have more squeeze than my opponent, so this just benefits me right now. Counterspell. Discard the squee. And there's no way that he can interact with my survival, so just gonna force him to discard everything. Discard survival. Alright. So now we trade. And I have more cards than he does and more mana. And my creatures fly and his do not. Always yes, always yield. More green mana is always a good draw. So now I can... I think I swing with both. And now I can discard... I can discard a 1 to squee. 1 squee for a Mongrel. We play Mongrel. And we say go. He can attack, but I just block. And I end up ahead on the exchange. He's gonna have survival going, but Wasteland. Wasteland doesn't do anything here. My opponent needs the mana more than I do. The power basics. Waterfront Bouncer. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Definitely don't want to let that one go. We're just gonna get a Rootwalla here. The last one. So he doesn't have good attacks. Because I just block and I force the pump. He effectively gets time walked. He does play Bouncer. Discard Rootwalla. Cast. I think I'm gonna get... This is close. I think I want to get Worm. If I get Mongrel number 2, we swing. 1, 2, 3. Can I lethal them? I can pump only 2 of these. So this is 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I think I actually have lethal, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I have lethal because his dudes don't fly. Basic Highland OP. Squee, yes. Squee, yes. Move to combat. Swing with everything. Move to blocks. Pump. Pump. Discard. 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 making a mongrel every color. So this is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Looks lethal to me. Excellent. Okay, the mirror. So this card seems this survival card seems important. So let's bring some naturalizes. So Cyberpunker, we were actually talking yesterday. We got to meet yesterday in the event, and we were talking about he prefers to have access to. He's playing 21 lands, and 4 of those are wastelands. So basically, his mana is much less more reliant than mine because he's both playing less lands than I do, and he's also playing less mana producing lands. And also very important, as we just saw, the fact that he's playing, I think he's playing 7 islands instead of the 9 that I'm playing. So that makes it, a little bit less likely for his days to be online and for the wonders to be active. However, he gets a boost in power level, right? Because if you've played any legacy at all, you know that the power of Wasteland plus Days is pretty up there, you know. I think he's also playing 4 squeeze instead of the 3 that I am. Besides that, oh, he's playing counter spells. That's the other difference. So I think, do I just cut the daces on the draw? Probably. Just keep the mana leaks. 61 cards. Sure. So this is a turn 3 Rootwalla, and I can answer my opponent's survival, which is nice. Ooh, mana leak's also pretty decent. We could get dazed though. I mean, not with that mana though. Not gonna play into counterspell. I'm not gonna play into Wasteland either, of course. So now I feel like I'm quite far ahead here. He's missing land drops. He's got some problematic mana situation. He's going to discard. Although going to discard can be a good thing here. Yeah, exactly, because of that. So, definitely interesting. Yeah, okay. So, I think I want to lead with Aquamoeba. And next turn, I can probably get our Runworm. And we are seeing, we are really seeing the upside, right? Of the fact that I'm playing more lands and the fact that my mana is more consistent. Like, he drew a land finally after all of this time, and it was a wasteland, right? Like, if this had been a forest, maybe he could have started to deploy his threats, but as is, he just can't. I'm not gonna attack actually, because if he does find a forest, now I can excuse me, I can actually mongrel. I think that's leak worthy. Maybe yes, he's got days, but it's also fine. But I can basically double block, and it's very nice. And I'm gonna do this right now because of counterspell. This is pretty strong. Feeling fairly far ahead over here. Do I want to play into days is the question. I don't think I have to, so I'm not going to. And now obviously we can swing pretty freely. We got Rootwalla Pump. That's a survival. So I'm gonna attempt to blow it up on his end step to basically bait out a counter spell. And I'm really only doing this because we have a second naturalize, otherwise I would not be doing this. That just happened? Oh, sick. Well, we're looking good now. Pumperino. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Do I want to swing for 12 instead? Or is 10 fine? Yeah, I'm gonna switch. He's got he's short on green mana anyway, so I should have definitely played the bouncer though. Like I meant to. It was just I misclicked, so I definitely meant to actually play the bouncer. Oh, well, that's fun. That is fun. That's a fun little draw right there. That is a fun little draw right there. Hey, sometimes just draw your one of wonder, you know? Sometimes that's just the way that it goes. Sweet. 3-1. Okay, so this is gonna be our last match from this league. This hand doesn't really do anything. This one is a lot better, so let's keep this one. I think I'm gonna ship the Frantic Search here. There's an argument, honestly, for shipping the Wild Mongrel, but this seems okay. So let's lead on Study. Ooh, baby. You love to see that. You love to see that. So now that I can kind of go pretty aggro here. So I can go Mongrel, and then if I draw land, I can Worm. Yeah, I think. Actually, yeah. Let's just Mongrel. So I'm assuming this is gonna be the rock. Turn 1 treetop village. Could be other stuff, but oh, okay. There we go. Wild Mongrel. Oh, just taste this. So red-green madness of sorts. It's pretty neat. Got a pretty decent opener. Next turn we're gonna be able to get the worm into play. Alternatively, we can just see what we draw and potentially find. Oh, I wonder. Okay, never mind. So I was gonna say I wonder if my opponent's going to just. Interesting. So what this does is it allows me to. I think we can serve with everything, and if they block here, we just pump, force my opponent to discard 2 cards. If they do that, we can just pass priority and just trade everything. I think my opponent's going to try to save the Mongrel. Roar of the Worm. So this is when things get a little bit more awkward, but I'm still going to go with this though. Just putting a 4/4 into play here. Like, this is going to be a tempo game, more so than a resources game, I think. 6/6 is keyword huge though, which may end up being a problem eventually. So I just have to find any land now. Do I want to trade this land for a card with my opponent's hand? I think so. I think so. So opponent down to a single card. Yep. Opponent down to a single card. And I imagine the last card is a land. They have a Mongrel, and I have a 4/4 and a Survival. So if I draw a creature, preferably a Squee, I can potentially close the game rather quickly. There's the land, which is bad because it allows my opponent to flashback, obviously. It does have them taking a point, however. So there's the flashback. That is so sick. That is super sick. So we just win now, right? We just win over 2 turns. We discard Rootwalla. Survival for Wonder. And then discard Wonder. And I guess we survival for what? Squee, probably? What are we doing next turn? Water for Bouncer obviously kills the worm token, but I don't think that matters. We're swinging for 5 this turn, then we chomp, take 6 potentially, and then we win in the air next turn. I think we're just gonna take Rootwalla here. So this is 5 down to 6, and next turn we kill them. Can I die from here? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If they have double fire temper, I lose. But if they fire off the treetop village, I am locked to not die. But if they swing both, which they obviously should. So now if they have only 1 fiery temper. So the question is, do I think my opponent has 2 fiery tempers? They discarded 1 already. Maybe they have bolt. They didn't suit up. So I think I'm gonna chomp. And I think that what I'm gonna do actually is I'm just going to chomp this turn, and I'm just gonna win over 2 turns with Arrogant Worm, as opposed to going all in on the Rootwalla next turn. Because if I go all in, my opponent bolts the Rootwalla, and then I actually could fall behind. Violent Eruption. I don't think I've ever actually seen this card. 4 damage to any number of targets. Wow. Well, that's a good card. Wasn't even aware that was a card. Well, good thing I didn't go for it, because I think I would have died to that. So we take 3, untap, another city. Okay. I mean, I have to percent lethal here, right? So I'm just gonna serve on pump and hope that my opponent's last card and their top deck are not fiery tempers. That's basically the play. Because next turn we chomp with Rootwalla and we call it a day. Wow, I honestly didn't know what this card was. I didn't know this card existed. That's pretty sick, actually. Violent Eruption. First time playing against this archetype. So they're suiting up the treetop, and I lose to removal spell, basically. So they can't have another eruption anymore. But they can have either bolt. They can have either bolt or fire temper. Let's get what? Ireland Worm. Walk there. I guess it doesn't really matter what I get, because there's only one thing that matters. So again, I lose to fiery temper. Seems like they don't get it. They don't have it. I would also lose to like Lava Dart or something like that if that's a card that my opponent's playing. But I can't play around it because I'm dead on the crackback, so cross fingers. Is this good enough? Hell yeah. Alright. That was sick. Blue elemental blasts are interesting. Daze seems probably bad on the draw. So I think I'd rather go with... How many of this effect do I want, though? We have Bouncer to deal with Worm. I don't think I want Gilded Drake. I think we just got the Dazes. Let's keep it 2 days, and let's do a split. So 3 Reb effects. That may be too many, that may be not enough. I honestly don't know. First time facing this matchup. My opponent's deck is super sweet, though. My opponent's deck is really, really sweet. Okay. I'm gonna keep this, but I really need to find some green sources with this hand. And if my opponent has a Naturalize effect, that also kind of sucks. That sucks. That also sucks. I think I'm being in a survival, as much as I hate doing that. So we're gonna go turn 2 Bouncer, I guess. But I don't think I can really afford to discard either the Frantic Search nor the Island. I could block here just to force my opponent to use their mana, but it sucks. Waiting there for 1. I mean, I should have attacked before playing the bounce. Sure. Maybe I should have cut the Genesis instead of the Squee. Hope I don't get punished for that. Rancor. Okay. That's kind of a problem. Green source? Yeesh. That So many blue sources, dude. That is so many islands. Things are not looking great over here. That's worst case scenario. That is the absolute worst case scenario. Opponent doesn't even allow me to use my mana leak. Yeah, I think I'm just dead here. I think I'm too far behind. Double treetop. That's somehow both lucky and unlucky. Funnily enough. So I think if I leave the Rootwalla back to block, I'm forcing my opponent to activate Rootwalla as opposed to attacking with treetop. 3 cards in hand for OP. One thing is clear, and we do have Rootwalla art advantage. That part is clear. Opponent has good taste in basic, however. So in terms of basics, it's not clear. Okay, so once they pump, I'm safe to discard this mana leak. So now we're gonna have to trade our worm with this stupid Rootwalla. And we're still taking 4 here, which is kind of a lot. Well, Wildmonger looks really weird when it's red. Okay, so we take 4, we trade for the treetop village. Genesis. Okay, just gotta pass here. Not too much we can do. If they have bolts and stuff like that, we're destroyed. But I need to keep the mongrel back to block the treetop village. Oh my god, pyrokinesis. Yeah, we're dead now. Woof. Didn't think about that. Alright, so Dace is a lot better on the play. And I see pyrokinesis now, so I think that this is a fine split. Also, mana leak on the play is a lot better. I think Genesis is gonna go. Maybe a Frantic Search? Actually, Aquamoeba looks really awkward. I think I'd rather have Frantic Search than Aquamoeba. Just the sizing of the Aquamoeba doesn't really work. I'll keep this hand. A little bit of a weirdo hand, but allows me to like Hydroblast on 1 if I need to. Turn 2 we can Aquamoeba with Daze back up. That's some nice things. Turn 1 Rootwalla into turn 2 Rancor. Just went the distance. One moves to 6. Treetop. Okay, so this allows me to pull pretty ahead. Usually play draw, my experience hasn't been that play draw matters too much in Premodern, but in this matchup it really has felt like it matters a lot. In this matchup and against goblins is where play draw really matters the most. Daze on the play is just so broken. Daze on the play is just so freaking busted. Probably not blocking. If my opponent wants to attack with treetop next turn, I think I'm okay with that. I really need to find the green source though. Really gotta find the green source. That's not a green source. Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna get in there. Opponent might bolt on my end step? No. Again, this is a matter of like, that's my opponent. Maybe they just do that. Maybe they just activate treetop. Really gotta find something here. Oh man. Any land will do. Interesting. Okay. I think I'll take this trade. Takes a lot of pressure off my back. Like obviously it's a 2-for-1, right? I traded with my opponent's land. It's not sick or anything, but boy would I love to be drawing some lands here. If this is my opponent's turn, I'm okay with this. Green source. Did they see mana leak? I don't think they saw mana leak. Maybe they did. Well, if they saw it, they're not playing around it at least. White mana. That has to be just like a random colorless. Hardcast Arrow on the Worm. That was very good for me. Okay. Finally, now what? Now what is the plan? Because it's possible my opponent has some worms and stuff like that in hand. If that is the case, do I want to hold up Mana Leak? Or do I want to slam Survival? I think I want to hold up Frantic Search plus Mana Leak, because it's going to allow me to dig a little bit deeper. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so this basically makes my opponent attack. Let's see if I spike. So discard, and I guess I'm gonna discard the Hydroblast. I'm gonna discard these. My opponent's got infinite mana now. Just gonna frantic search again. This is so bad. Frantically searching without any way to offset it. But now I get to start pulling ahead finally after all this time with survival. Mongrel seems like a good one to counter there. Play out survival. Say go. Just gotta draw a creature now. Just gonna draw any creature at all. And the best one to draw would be Arrogant Worm. If we draw a worm, we're gonna be looking pretty good. Okay. Discard. 1, 2, 3. Untap. Say go. So this is when we can finally start pulling ahead. If my opponent has Pyrokinesis in hand, I guess we get kind of destroyed here. But if they have Pyrokinesis, we probably lose. But I don't think I can really play around it. And they went for it, right? So they very, very likely have it. But I don't think there's too much I can do about it. So we just gotta hope. No cards in hand, so opponent's no need to play around these or anything. Do we want to squeeze? No, we want another worm. Can I please block? Can I pretty please block? That sucks. So we're gonna take 4 here. Ugh. Am I just dead? Because I can't gain life. So I think I am dead. And I'm holding up to the City of Brass in case I draw another Frantic Search or something. Lose to Lightning Bolt, lose to another Pyrokinesis. This was a brutal game. But this is kind of one of the things... Honestly, I personally think it's a feature, right? I personally think that it's a little bit of a feature that you can kind of just lose to Mana Screw, you know? Nowadays, if you look at, you know, like modern Magic, you can just do so much with your mana all the time that Mana Screw is like no longer a thing. Like you just always have perfect mana between like fetch lands and triumphs and whatever the hell you want. So it's kind of charming that you, in this format, like how you build your mana still matters. All right. GG's. That was fun though. That was pretty fun. Alright, so to wrap up this video, this was a pretty fun little deck. I think it's pretty competitive. I wouldn't say that it's a tier 1 deck or anything like that, but I think that it is a very cool deck. The weakest aspect of it is the mana base by a pretty significant margin. Like I feel like the interaction is solid. Just the game plan is pretty solid. It can grind really well thanks to survival. Obviously, it has some very interesting play patterns, and I feel like it has a lot of room for improvement as a player. Like I don't think it's necessarily easy to play. I feel like I made a bunch of mistakes throughout these 5 matches as I am stumbling and trying to figure out how to maneuver through the different scenarios, like through the different new cards and how they interact and whatever. But yeah, the weakest aspect is by far the mana. And I feel like most people, when they build this deck, they're extremely greedy. Like, as is, this mana base is absolute trash, right? So one thing that you could consider if you wanted to would be to play stuff like Treetop Village or something like that. But that's like the only thing that I would consider. Obviously, the blue mana lands are not a possibility because we need the actual islands for days. And so you could play like a Treetop Village or something like that. But you saw how very often the deck actually digs fairly well between Frantic Search and Careful Study. So you do some pretty interesting amount of digging. So once you find the survival, you kind of unlock the engine and everything goes berserk from there. But survival is really mana hungry, right? So we saw how multiple times I was stuck on green mana and I could only activate survival once, or like as in the last match, I could just never cast it straight up. And then like, yeah, I had multiple copies in hand, but they didn't really do anything. And if you don't draw your squeeze, every card, every frantic search or careful study that you draw is actually card disadvantage. With squee, they can be card advantage, right? So if you're casting frantic search and you're like drawing 2 and discarding 2 squeeze, like that's literally you're up a card and up on mana. So that's obviously really, really great. But that is another thing. Like I don't think that you really should be playing 4 squeeze, but you kind of really want to draw your squeeze because they work really, really well with survival and the careful studies and frantic search. So it's very tricky, right, to find that balance. I think that 3 is the ideal number, but we saw what happened in that last game where I discarded too many cards, right? Like I just got into too much card disadvantage and I was not able to keep up. So it's interesting, and the deck can go very different places. It has a couple of holes, which I don't even think are even worth trying to save. Like the Elves matchup is kind of unwinnable. Like there's nothing really you can do. You could try to play something like Submerge or something like that, but I don't even know how good that card is in the format. There are not that many green decks, and the green decks in the format are not really playing big dudes. They're playing multiple dudes. So maybe that is I don't know. Like I could try playing some number of Submerges in the sideboard, particularly against stuff like the Rock. I feel like Submerge could be pretty solid. But yeah, this was fun. I don't know which deck I'm going to be playing in the next one, but right now I'm in the process of just basically playing a new deck in every single one of these leagues. So this is the second one that I played. The first one I played the blue-green StifleNought deck, and now I played the blue-green Survival Madness, and still don't know what I'm going to be playing next. If there are any decks that you would like to see me play, let me know in the comments. And if you did enjoy this video, please let me know as well, and I can make some more Premodern content. I'm super into the format, so I'm probably going to be making it anyway. But it's going to be maybe like one video every other week or something like that, so it's not going to be that much, but you can expect to see some Premodern content in this channel, so make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And if you would like to support my content, you can do so through Patreon. You can do so as well by just making donations. With every donation of $30 or more, I will play any list of your choosing on a YouTube video or live on stream if that's what you prefer, regardless of format. Doesn't really matter. And finally, if you would like to book a coaching session with me, you can find all the information in the description of the video down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one, folks. Take care. Bye-bye.